family deeply longs for Patricia Viola, a devoted homemaker and mother from Bogota, New Jersey. She had a remarkable talent for making each day extraordinary for her husband and children. Going the extra mile on every special occasion, Pat would skillfully bake any cake and effortlessly discover ideal gifts for birthdays, Christmas, and even holidays like Valentine's Day. Moreover, she selflessly cared for their extended family members, showing her boundless love and compassion. Despite having a wonderful home and family life, Pat faced her fair share of challenges and stressors. At the age of 12, she was diagnosed with epilepsy, which was mostly under control with medication. However, things took a turn when she experienced a rare grand mal seizure the previous November, rendering her unable to drive. Following her doctor's advice, her driver's license was suspended for 3 months, starting from November 2000, and she had to wait until February 2001 to regain her driving privileges. This news hit Pat hard, especially because she was eagerly anticipating driving to the mall to buy Christmas presents for her loved ones. On the 6th of February, Pat received disheartening news from her doctor, revealing that her driving privileges would be revoked for another 3 months. Despite the weight of caring for her ailing mother-in-law and relying on public transportation to commute to the hospital, Pat's kind-heartedness shone through as she extended an invitation to her sister-in-law Donna to come and live with her. Pat's unwavering love and care extended beyond her family as she dedicated her time as a librarian at her son's school. The last sighting of Pat was at the school, where she selflessly contributed her efforts. It was a regular Tuesday, just 2 days before Valentine's Day in 2001, and Pat was sticking to her usual routine to ensure her family's smooth departure to work and school. However, Jim could not help but notice that Pat seemed a bit downcast. It turned out that her license had been suspended, adding an extra layer of stress to her day. To make matters worse, Donna, Jim's sister, had accidentally burned a hole in the guest bedspread. Determined to address these issues, Pat and Jim agreed to confront Donna the next day. Despite these setbacks, they were excited about attending a party in Brooklyn at the home of Pat's dear friend, Toinette Fazio Markowitz. Pat appeared visibly distressed as she entered the party. Without wasting a moment, she whisked her closest confidant, Fazio Markowitz, into a vacant room and burst into tears. It was evident that something was gravely amiss, and Pat desperately needed to confide in her friend. Though she refrained from divulging any specifics, Pat implored Toinette to cancel her upcoming vacation so they could escape together for a few days. Furthermore, she entrusted her friend with the responsibility of looking after her children, emphasizing the importance of this request. Toinette promptly canceled her trip that very night and wasted no time in reaching out to Pat the following morning to discuss the situation at hand. The day was February the 13th, 2001, and it appeared to be a typical day. Jim left the house at his customary time of 6:30 a.m., while the children headed off to school at their usual 8:15 a.m. However, an unexpected turn of events occurred. Toinette called Pat at some point during the day to discuss the previous night's incident. Much to Pat's surprise, she brushed it off and swiftly changed the subject to Valentine's Day presents. Pat excitedly mentioned her plan to buy Jim a hilarious gift, a singing monkey in a cage, just like the one Twinette had purchased for her husband. Twinette detected a sense of weariness and urgency in Pat's voice, as if she wanted to end the conversation quickly. After hanging up, Pat suddenly rushed downstairs to confront Jim's sister, Donna, about her smoking and the burnt bedspread in the guest room. Jim later remarked that Pat's behavior was completely out of character. She was fuming and shouting at Donna like a raving maniac, which was highly unusual for her. After bidding farewell to Jim and the children, Pat started with her daily routine. At exactly 8:38 a.m., she left her home and walked 2 blocks to the library, located at Bixby Elementary School. She spent a couple of hours shelving and checking out books before finally leaving the premises around 11:30 a.m. On her way back home, she met the crossing guard on Palisade Avenue and exchanged a friendly wave with the passing mailman. This brief interaction took place between 11:35 a.m. and 11:40 a.m. Upon reaching her residence, Pat found a message on her answering machine informing her about an early security alarm activation. A security alarm company received a notification about an alarm going off at Pat and Jim's residence. They tried to contact Pat and Jim, but they were unavailable. They finally reached Pat's mother, who called Pat's home phone and left a message. The alarm system alerted the police, who inspected the property and found no break-in. Pat's mother later confirmed that everything was fine at the house. Despite not having any mode of transportation or informing anyone about her intentions of going out, Pat mysteriously departed from her home once again. The security alarm's control panel indicates that Pat reset the home security alarm at 1:11 p.m., implying that she left sometime between 1:11 p.m. and 4 p.m., reactivating the alarm as she departed. It remains unknown whether Pat left willingly or if she was compelled to leave. As the clock struck 4:30 p.m., Jim stepped through the front door, only to be greeted by the piercing sound of the alarm. However, his wife Pat was nowhere to be found. Her absence was perplexing, especially since her coat was missing, yet all her personal belongings, including her purse, keys, ID, cell phone, and most alarmingly, her epilepsy medication were all left behind. Jim's heart sank as he realized that Pat must have vanished while he was away. The security alarm was only ever set when they left the home or retired for the night, so it was clear that Pat was not there. His concern grew exponentially, knowing that Pat was due to take her medication soon, and she would never dare skip it, risking a potentially dangerous grand mal seizure. Adding to the enigma, the key they always used to lock the back door was casually resting on the kitchen table instead of being securely inserted into the deadbolt. Jim deduced that Pat could only have left on foot, prompting him to frantically reach out to anyone he could think of, even going as far as checking bus schedules, confident that she would not have driven anywhere. As the clock ticked towards midnight, Jim's worry reached its peak, and he finally decided to contact the Bogota Police Department to report his missing wife. Little did he know, this report would land on the desk of Captain James Sepp. The police took a proactive approach to find Pat. leaving no stone unturned. They went door to door, engaging with neighbors and gathering any information that could lead to Pat's whereabouts. They even stopped buses along the main route in town, hoping to find any witnesses who might have seen something. Additionally, they meticulously checked the logs of all taxi cabs and car services in town, hoping to find any trace of Pat's movements. Realizing the importance of airport records, they reached out to the Port Authority police to check flight manifests at nearby airports. They were determined to leave no avenue unexplored. However, despite their efforts, there was no sign of Pat. As the time passed, the urgency grew, and the police decided to bring in a police dog to assist in the search. They also expanded their investigation to include aerial searches, hoping to cover more ground. Unfortunately, even with these additional resources, Pat remained elusive. After 2 weeks had gone by, Jim and Toinette took matters into their own hands. They joined forces to conduct their own investigation. Toinette focused on local drugstores and gift shops within walking distance. It was during this search that she stumbled upon a Rite Aid pharmacy that sold the singing monkey gift Pat had been longing for. The clerk at the store surprisingly remembered Pat when shown her picture, but did not know her whereabouts after she left the store. Meanwhile, Jim took on the task of investigating local hospitals. He considered the possibility that Pat may have had another seizure and ended up in a hospital, potentially suffering from amnesia as a result. However, despite his efforts, he was unable to find any leads. Captain Sepp, who was familiar with such cases, was not surprised by the lack of results. He knew that law enforcement was always notified when a living Jane Doe was admitted to a hospital. The search for Pat continued, with both police, Jim, and Toinette determined to find her and bring her back home safely. In the coming weeks and months, the police tirelessly continued their search for Pat. Initially, they had 2 theories in mind. Either Pat had willingly left, or she had fallen victim to a heinous crime. However, after discovering the peculiar conversation with Toinette and the unexpected argument with Donna, they began considering the possibility of Pat taking her own life. They explored locations like the George Washington Bridge and the Palisades, but found no evidence to support this theory. Moreover, it seemed implausible for Pat to have reached these places without a car. Consequently, they shifted their focus to the second theory of foul play. But before proceeding, they needed to eliminate any suspicion surrounding Jim. Despite his full cooperation, the police subjected him to intense questioning and even a polygraph test, which he passed. Although Jim was quickly cleared of any involvement, the interrogation provided valuable insights into Pat's life before her disappearance. The case grew cold, with only sporadic tips reaching the police. Despite the dwindling leads, Jim remained steadfast in his mission to keep the case in the public eye. Through various media channels, posters, and online presence, he tirelessly sought justice for his beloved wife. More than 10 years had passed since Pat disappeared, but fate had a way of bringing people together. In January 2011, Gary Miko, a local private investigator stumbled upon a website created by Jim, solely dedicated to finding Pat. Intrigued by the mysterious case, Miko reached out to Jim and offered his assistance in investigating Pat's disappearance. During his search, Miko managed to track down the mailman, who vividly remembered waving to Pat on the day she vanished. However, what caught Miko off guard was when the mailman mentioned another chilling crime that had taken place in the house across the street from the Viola's residence back in 1997. This revelation sparked Miko's curiosity, leading him to uncover a triple homicide that had occurred the very same block where the Violas lived on October the 23rd, 1997. The case took an unexpected turn when P.I. Miko stumbled upon a triple homicide. It injected a fresh breath of life into the investigation, sparking new possibilities. The chilling discovery revealed that on October the 23rd, 1997, a diamond dealer fell victim to a targeted robbery homicide in a house just across from the Violas. Tragically, 2 innocent individuals present in the house also lost their lives as collateral damage. As the investigation progressed, 4 men were apprehended in connection with the triple murder. Speculation arose that these suspects, currently on trial, might have orchestrated Pat's disappearance. The timing of the trial coincided with her vanishing, leading to the belief that they may have hired someone to either abduct or eliminate her, considering her a potential witness. However, it was later confirmed that these assumptions were entirely false. Pat had no involvement with the crime whatsoever, nor was she listed as a witness. This revelation left investigators contemplating other possibilities. Could it have been a case of mistaken identity? Or perhaps a hitman, hired to carry out a job, had simply entered the wrong address? Despite the initial surge of hope, this lead ultimately proved to be fruitless. The tantalizing possibility of a breakthrough faded away, leaving the investigation once again shrouded in uncertainty. Over the years, Jim's determination to uncover the truth about Pat's disappearance never faltered. He emerged as a prominent figure in New Jersey's legislative efforts concerning missing persons cases, collaborating with State Senator Loretta Weinberg and then Governor of New Jersey, John Corzine, in 2008. Jim played a pivotal role in the enactment of Patricia's Law. This groundbreaking legislation established fresh protocols for law enforcement agencies, mandating the acceptance of all missing persons reports, providing support to affected families, and ensuring the collection and inclusion of DNA samples in a national database. Throughout this arduous journey, Jim and his family remained unwavering in their hope for Pat's safe return. In an unfortunate turn of events, Pat's return home in 2012 was not the joyful reunion everyone had hoped for. The remains that had washed up on Rockaway Beach in Queens, New York in 2002 were finally identified as belonging to Pat. The New York City Medical Examiner's Office used DNA analysis to link the remains of a left foot to Pat. It was a beachgoer who stumbled upon the skeletal remains, along with a sock and a shoe. On July the 27th, 2002, Thankfully, DNA samples provided by Pat's children, Christine and Michael, a year earlier, were entered into national databases, which ultimately led to the match. Captain Sepp delivered the heartbreaking news to Jim on September the 11th, 2012, just a few days after Pat had been officially declared deceased. Jim faced the heartbreaking task of delivering the news to his daughter, Christine, who was understandably taken aback and devastated. He had to postpone informing Michael, who was in a medically induced coma fighting an infection when the DNA match results arrived. Jim wanted to wait until Michael, who was 21 years old, recovered from the hospital so that the family could come together to plan services and finally lay Pat to rest. While the mystery of Pat's whereabouts seemed to be solved, the enigma of what happened to her after she left her home on February the 13th, 2001, remains unanswered. Despite the confirmation of Pat's demise, the Bogota police affirmed their commitment to utilizing all available resources in their ongoing pursuit of what they still refer to as a missing persons investigation. Even in 2024, the police continue to regard her death as an unsolved case. I love hearing your thoughts. Thank you for watching.